Hey y'all, it's your Missniecytv and I'm here to do a review for Sistas Season 10, Episode 3. The episode picks up and we immediately see Cheyenne and Jill getting her mugshots taken, and I'm like, what could this girl have possibly done? But I thought it might have been a DUI or something, but it turns out that it was worse than that, because when she calls Andy and lets Andy know where she is and asking Andy for help to get her out of jail, she let Andy know that she was getting down to business in a public pool, and that's when the cops came and they arrested her. And of course Andy cussed her out for 1, waking her up in the middle of the night, 2, Cheyenne being arrested, 3, because she got arrested for getting down to business in a public pool. Lastly, Cheyenne doesn't want Andy to tell her mom, and I'm like, Cheyenne, you're grown. But then again, she's like, I don't want you to tell mom because she's sick and she doesn't need to be worried about this. They had this whole back and forth between Andy and Cheyenne. Andy was cussing Cheyenne out, and Andy's like, hi. Then they had this whole back and forth, and at first, Andy was just going to let Cheyenne sit there, but then she eventually decided to go pick up Cheyenne. Some time passes and Andy does go get Cheyenne from jail, but first they sit down and they have a conversation, and basically Andy's cussing her out like, you've always been a problem, you've always done stuff like this, what has gotten into you, why are you like this? Andy was like, mom taught us better than this, and Cheyenne is like, what would you know about mom teaching? You left when I was 8. And you went to college, and you never looked back. Then Cheyenne mentions the fact that her mom was with a guy named Marvin, and she basically alluded to the fact that she was essayed by Marvin, and that might be some of the resentment that Cheyenne has towards Andy. Cheyenne feels like when she needed Andy the most, Andy wasn't there to protect her, but she was too busy off in college with her. As soon as Cheyenne mentioned Marvin, Andy was like, I don't want to talk about it. I think Andy might have been essayed by Marvin as well, and that's why she doesn't want to talk about him, and that's why she always brings up that she went to college, because that was her chance to break free from the abuse. What made me mad in that moment, instead of comforting Cheyenne and talking to her and being there for her, Andy decided to turn around and make it all about her and list her accomplishments and everything that she's done. And Andy, you can grow up in the same house with the same parents and still have 2 different life experiences and have 2 different childhoods. The version of your mother that Cheyenne knows is totally different than the version of your mother that you know. Cheyenne switches the subject and she's like, has bail been set? Andy's like, I called in some favors and moved some things around to get your charges dismissed. Cheyenne's like, well, what we still sitting here for then? Andy's like, because you have to wait for the paperwork. But let this be your last time calling me to get you out of jail. Andy, just so you know, it won't be the last time. But over at Zach and Fatima's, we have them having a conversation in the bed after they just got down in business. Of course, we didn't see that scene because Courtney's trying to play. But they have a conversation and they talk about their future. And Zach is like, I just want to give you and my future kids the world, and I'm going to do anything that I can to do that. Zach tells Fatima that he wants to put a bid on this gym that he saw, and he wants to get it up and running, and they can have a franchise, and it could be multiple gyms. And I'm like, I like how they're incorporating DeVal's real life into the story. For those who don't know, DeVal used to own a gym back in the day with his brother, and it was Zach and Fatima discussing more about that, and then Fatima brings up the fact that I know you're excited about the mentorship with Mr. Keys and working with the kids, but I don't trust that man. And Zach is like, why? And then Fatima doesn't really say. Fatima, just tell the man what you heard or what you think you heard. Why are you stalking this out? Zach is like, you sure? Because I really don't know. I think this would be good for me. I get to teach kids and help kids that grew up like me. Zach is like, I think Mr. Keys is a really good guy. I think you're just going through pregnancy hormones and everything. Fatima's like, no. But did you notice how he was all over Andy's mom? Zach is like, yeah, they might have known each other from before. Fatima, you know better than anybody else what happens when you lie to Zach, so why are you continuing to do it? Over at the grocery store, we see Danni coming out and she's about to put her groceries in the car. Now she's trying to put her groceries in the car. Officer Green comes out of nowhere, grabs on Danni, and he's like, I just want to talk to you. Danny's like, honestly, what we did was a mistake. I just want to be alone tonight. I shouldn't have done that. I basically cheated on my man for you. Danny's like, I just want to be alone. My one friend is in a coma and the other one moved to a different state, and I just want to be alone and eat my snacks. Officer Green immediately says, well, let me be there for you. Danny's like, I don't think you heard me. I want to be alone. Then Officer Green realizes that she's talking about Sabrina because he says her last name. And Danny's like, how you know? Officer Green is like, well, I was an officer on the scene. Officer Green, that should have gave you more inclined to leave that lady alone, not trying to approach her and talk to her. You know everything that she's going through, and you just... Danni, you should have left this man alone a long time ago. I don't even know why you gave him the chance and even invited him into your home. That's something you don't do. But anyway, Danni drives off and she goes home, and Officer Green is mad and he throws his groceries in the trash can. I'm like, Officer Green, In this economy, don't be throwing no groceries away. Over at Maurice's, we see him call Calvin to let him know about everything that's going on with Sabrina. So Maurice starts the conversation. He's like, I gotta tell you something. It's about Sabrina. Immediately, Calvin starts whooping and hollering. And I'm like, whoever's playing Calvin voice is making me laugh right now. I know this is a serious situation and I shouldn't be laughing, but whoever's playing Calvin is hilarious. So Maurice does eventually tell him everything that's going on with Sabrina, and Calvin is still whooping and hollering. And Maurice is like, you know what? I can't deal with this right now. I can't deal with all this crying. So he hangs up. It's really sad seeing Maurice like this when you're used to him being so happy and always having jokes and making everybody laugh. Over at Andy's penthouse, we see Andy and Cheyenne make it back to the house, and of course Valerie is at the room, and she's like, where have y'all been? Andy's like, well, I had to pick up Cheyenne from a party. Cheyenne goes out, and she's like, yeah. She had to pick me up because I couldn't drive. Andy tries to play like she's tired so that she doesn't have to answer any more questions, so she goes in the room, and Valerie and Cheyenne have a conversation. She basically asks Cheyenne what happened, and Cheyenne doesn't tell her the whole story. She basically gives her half of the truth. So eventually, Valerie is not satisfied with the answer, so she goes to talk to Andy. Valerie and Andy sit down and they have a conversation, and Valerie's like, I just want you to help your sister. I want y'all to get along. Maybe Atlanta could be a new beginning for her, so that she could be better, and she could be a better person. And Andy basically tells her, I can't help somebody that don't want to help themselves. Which is a very true statement, and Andy's like, I can't really handle Cheyenne because Cheyenne doesn't make it easy. I already have too much stuff going on. From my car blowing up, to Karen moving to Seattle, to Sabrina being in a coma, and now I had to bail Cheyenne out of jail. Valerie's like, what? Andy's like, I didn't mean to say that, it just slipped out, but yeah. Andy's like, it's not my place to tell you, you better go talk to Cheyenne because it sounds better coming from her anyway. So Valerie does get up and she goes talk to Cheyenne. He does let her mom know that her mom should not be responsible for pulling Cheyenne out of everything that she's been through. This is where Valerie mentions that Cheyenne needs a new beginning, and Andy asks why, and Valerie is like, you know what, I'm tired. You know what these ladies do? They avoid things instead of telling the truth or what needs to be told. They avoid it so that they don't have to deal with it in their brains. Back over at Maurice's, Maurice calls Pam because he can't sleep because he's thinking about Sabrina. So he calls Pam and she's basically like, I just woke up from a nightmare. Maurice is like, what was the nightmare about? He's like, well, I was in the salon. A client asked me to comb out their hair. Karen was under the dryer laughing at me, feeding baby Faith. Aaron was on the other side baptizing somebody. And I'm like, Pam, that was a very vivid dream. But it turns out the dream was just her saying that she doesn't want to fail Karen because she's always used to Karen being around, and now that Karen's not around, she doesn't know how this salon's going. Pam tells Maurice that he should take an edible so that he could be able to sleep, right? And Maurice is like, I can't do that because the bank drug test week. Maurice, I know it's going to be hard, but you're going to have to find a way to get your sleep pattern back on track because losing sleep is not good for your body. Back over at Andy's, we see Cheyenne in the bathroom and she's doing that Bobby and Whitney. Well, it's not Bobby and Whitney, but it's similar to it. Besides Cheyenne being attracted to girls, this is what Andy meant by saying that they're vastly different and that's why they don't get along. But Cheyenne's in the bathroom trying to cope with what happened, and she's in the tub and she's listening to a voicemail that her boyfriend left her, I believe. He sounds very abusive. His name is Tank, and he's like, I've been looking for you, where you at? I went to your mom's house, he wasn't there, and everything else. So I think he probably went to jail or something, or she found a way to escape while he wasn't home, and that's how she ended up in Atlanta, and her mom knows about it. I think this is the main reason why Valerie is so persistent on Cheyenne and Andy getting along and helping Cheyenne get new life. Valerie eventually comes in the bathroom, and she sees Cheyenne in the tub, and she's like, why do you keep doing things that are making you not want you to stay with her? Newsflash, Valerie. Andy already said that she doesn't want Cheyenne staying with her. If I was Andy, Valerie would really have to hear from you. I would tell her about herself. How you think you're going to come in my house and try to run things? First of all, you're trying to force me to have a relationship with my sister that I don't want. I told you that she needs help, and you're forcing me to be that help. No, I think Cheyenne really needs clinical. Valerie is begging Cheyenne to listen to Andy, and she's like, if we listen to Andy, things might change in your life for the better, and you really need that. Back over at Danny's, we see Danny stress eating, and she gets a knock on the door, and she's like, who is it? Officer Green doesn't answer that first, but of course it's Officer Green. She's like, what are you doing here? You need to go home. I told you I wanted to be alone. Why aren't you listening? Then he's like, I'm done talking to you. Hang up on you. I'm not in the mood. So he's like, you know what? We're not done talking. I'm coming in, basically. So he's like, you're going to listen to me and you're not going to tell me no. I don't take no. Mr. Green decides to take it upon himself and try to force himself on Danni. They get to tussling. Officer Green gets the best of Danni first. He tries choking her out, but it doesn't work. Danni regains her strength and she eventually beats Officer Green up with a cast iron skillet. I'm like, how many times did Danni have to go through this? Where men try to force themselves on her, come in their house, and she's been through a lot of near-death experiences or close. First it was Jonah, now it's Officer Green. When is she going to learn her lesson? Not to bring men into her. I feel extremely bad for Danni, and I feel like she shouldn't have to go through this. I really hope that Danni gets help that she needs to help her cope through this situation once again that she shouldn't have went through again. But I really hope that they don't use Tony as the way to help her get through this. Her and Tony need to be officially done and be all. But let me know what you guys think about the episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Bye!